Hi, I'm Yuting. I just got my master degrees from University of Copenhagen, and thank you for inviting me being here. So my work is not related with Genshin at all. Also, thank you for being here. So instead, my topic is about construction parasocial intimacy in auto games, and I use Love and Deepspace as a case. So first, why do I study parasocial intimacy in auto games? That's totally because I feel players in that game didn't really just play a game. They build relationships instead. And auto games are quite emotionally intense. For those who don't know what Otome games is, basically it's like a game that's well-oriented female players, and they can form relationships or like parasocial intimacy with the male characters in the game. And you can gacha for some intimacy experience if you want, and you need to pay for that. Of course, that's a company wants. Yep. So my research question is, how is parasocial intimacy generated and maintained in such games? And basically, I was digging into three systems, which is game mechanisms, narrative design, and player communities. So this is a very basic and fundament of my framework. Basically, it's about players in the real world. They will projection themselves to the avatars in the game world, where the avatars can form or like have a relationship with the characters through game plot or the narrative. And by those, the characters can have a virtual companionship with the players in the real world through the game design. Basically, this is the logic. And through that, the players' feelings towards characters will change. From beginning, maybe they're not interested at all, and later they will enter and slowly establish such an intimacy with characters, and they will like maintain or like deepen as long as the plot goes, or they got the real like the correct card for the intimacy experience. And my method is basically combine the analysis that I grabbed from Reddit and also my own game experience to capture both collective expressions and live experience. So here are some of my key findings. The first, as shown in the PCA projection, you can see all the discussions, like this one is take Caleb, one of the characters, as example. All the discussions like are mostly focused on the character himself. If it's like emotional expression or the rational allies, they focus more on the character himself rather than the gameplay. And I also found a gradual deepen of parasocial intimacy. I found a three-stage model. At the first, the players will have a preference for some of the characters, like, okay, this guy is handsome. And secondly, they will have some align themselves with some characters' personality. And last, they will have a fantasy-based exclusive projection, like, oh my God, this guy will be my future husband or something like that. And through that, I found Reddit as a community. It serves as an effective curriculum space where you can share your emotional expression, and they are shared, echoed, and validated. So through that community, players can freely enjoy their communications or like sharing their ideas either on the character itself or the plot or the game, like everything, literally everything. So it can sustain and intensifies those parasocial intimacy. Last but not least, what I'm trying to say is, though you need to gacha for some experience, but parasocial intimacy is not passive consumption, but an emotionally meaningful mode of game participation. As a result, parasocial intimacy extends beyond the game world. That's how it's reshaping players' emotional experience across the real world and the game world. That's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to your feedback and any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was under 5 minutes. Yeah, we have 5.5 minutes for questions. Yep, all the way in the back. Sorry, Leon.
Thank you for sharing your research, and it's super interesting, and also the method you've used to construct the three-stage model. I would like to ask, how do you determine like the three-stage model, is it necessarily linear, or are there exceptions? If so, how would you identify those kind of exceptions? Like, would people jump from emotional stance to fantasy-based? Because the kind of analysis you presented doesn't have the time dimension. So just curious, how would you treat results?
Yeah, thanks. So basically, I don't think they are literally linear because, like for some users, they don't want to express their feelings towards the timeline. So it's almost impossible to track the timelines. So basically, it's like I analyze the whole or like most of the player groups on Reddit, and for different stage they expressed. I have those stages. So for some people, maybe at first they're like, okay, I saw Silo's video, and literally that's why I want to dive into this game, and something they share like that. And for example, 2 months later, they say, oh my God, Silos is really my ideal type. But for those tracks, it's very difficult to track. So in that case, so for the first post, I identify them as the first stage, and for the next post, like, okay, this is my ideal type, I capture those to the third stage. So basically that's how it works. Thanks. No, I didn't track the same users. It's almost impossible because not everyone are willing to share their experience. Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, cool. Sorry, thanks for your presentation. I have 2 very simple questions. The first is related to the platform you choose. So why you choose Reddit? As we all know, it's a little bit gender biased, and the Twitter actually have more Otome game players. So that's the first question. And the second question is that I noticed that the construction of your theoretical framework is from player, avatar, and the character. So as for the avatar, actually we can also divide it into first-person view and second-person view. So what is the differences like between the constructions of those parasocial intimate relationships between those 2 different views? So, thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. And for our first question, I use Reddit because first is because it's easier to like legally get all the data, and also that's because I feel Reddit has more like interactions between players themselves. So it's more like a curriculum, like a player curriculum that can share all the factions. And Twitter, I didn't dive into so much, but some of those are more are like just random dumps, and where no one's replying to them, or like they're just talking to themselves. That's I also hesitate about, but later, like at last, I choose Reddit. And for the first question, for the second question, personally, I feel like Avatar here, based on Goffman's theory, is more like the extension of players from the real world to the game world. So I think it will be important to get the idea of how Avatar and characters interact during the game. Hence, that represents for the players themselves, because most of the players will thought Avatar as their extensions rather than, okay, this is just a random girl I saw and I'm just reading a story. That's why I choose this perspective and thought it's more like a player and character interaction rather than Avatar and characters themselves. Yes.
Okay, I think we should move to the next session.